Hi there, and welcome to this first tutorial on learning the Ælis language. Since Ælis uses its own writing system, it shouldn't sound too far-fetched that this first lesson deals with the alphabet and the writing system. The system might seem a bit complex at first, but it will make sense once you get used to it. Ælis has a relatively small inventory of sounds, which should make it fairly easy to pronounce for people from across the world. The alphabet considers itself to have 15 letters, of which the first 6 are vowels. Let's have a look, and of course feel free to repeat the letters as they are presented one by one. A. A. This second symbol represents a sound that is actually a diphthong, but it is regarded as a common vowel. It is the signature sound of Ælis, and it is also the first sound of its name, I. It sounds very similar to the English letter I as in child, but listen again, it's just a bit different. I. I. The other vowels are fairly straightforward. E, I, O, and finally U. Once again from left to right. A, I, E, I, O, U. The remaining letters of the alphabet are all consonants. M, M, N, N, La, L, G, G, Da, Da, Ra, Ra. This letter is called a lateral flap, and it is the sound of the R that is found in, among others, Spanish, Ra. It may also be pronounced as Ra, Ra, the French R, or the English Ra. That wouldn't lead to any confusion, but the preferred pronunciation is Ra. Then there is S, S, B, B, F, F. Once again from left to right. M, N, L, G, D, R, S, B, F. This is the entire Ælis alphabet, but there are a few more phonemes. The last 6 consonants of the alphabet may feature a little circle-shaped diacritic, which makes the consonant become a voiced consonant. This way, Ga becomes Ga, Ga, Da becomes Da, Da. Notice that your tongue is between your teeth when you pronounce the letter. Da, Da. Then Ra becomes Ha, Ha. Again, with this letter, some people may have difficulties pronouncing this, and they may also resort to Ha or even Cha or Cha. The preferred pronunciation is purely aspirated. Ha. Next, Sa becomes Za, Za. Ba becomes Ba, Ba, and Fa becomes Va, Va. Once again from left to right. Ga, Da, Ha, Za, Ba, Va. Finally, there are also 2 digraphs, which means that 2 letters are used to represent one sound. A double S becomes Sh, Sh, and a double Z becomes J, J. These 2 digraphs will never occur in natural Ælis words, but they are used to write names such as, for instance, James or Josh. Let's look again at the entire alphabet. The letters you see on screen now are called the primary case, but in order to write Ælis properly, we need an additional set of characters, which is called the secondary case. The secondary case letters look quite like their first case counterparts, but most of the strokes start to the top left instead of the bottom left. A, AE, E, I, O, U, M, N, L, K, T, R, S, P, F, G, D, H, Z, B, V. The primary and secondary case letters are designed so that the secondary case fits to the top right of the primary case, which makes them look like clusters. In order to write Ælis words properly, the first letter of every word will always be written in the primary case. The following letter or letters will be written in the secondary case. For instance, if we want to write the syllable ma, we use the m from the primary case, marked in red, and the a from the secondary case, marked in yellow. Ma. If we take the a from the primary case and the m from the secondary case, we get the cluster Let's have a look at a few contrasting examples. The top cluster reads an, while the bottom one reads na. A few other examples: ael, lae, ek, ge, it, ti, or, ro, us, su. This can also apply to vowel clusters, such as, for example, ao, oa, eu, ue, ai, ia. Now, you might be wondering why all of this is necessary, and that is, of course, a fair question. The reason is because all of these combined syllables carry a meaning. For instance, ma means man or male. Means manner, fashion, or way of doing things. Na means quality. An means a space, a place, a locality, and so on. The entire language is built with this type of clusters. Another example is Ælis, the Ælis language. Most of these syllables have only 2 letters, but they can also have 3 sometimes. Examples include lis, a concept or notion, and goe, which means water. When placed behind each other, we can now distinguish which letters belong together and which don't, such as in this sentence, Iram di ira hanaina ora la aima yaete. It literally means it is desirable that I could bring you the best possible situations, and it is a very polite and formal way of saying hello or goodbye. Let's not look at the little angular symbols for now. You can see that the use of both the primary and secondary case separates the sentence into syllabic clusters. Ir, am, di, I, ra, ha, nae, na, o, ra, la, ae, ma, ya, e, te. How these meanings can be combined to form words and sentences, that is something for the next videos. For now, let's leave it at this. Iram di ira hanaina ora la aima yaete. Goodbye.